Hello. Just wait till, oh, can't hear you. Hi.
Hi.
All right, yes, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm just going to make sure I actually have the latest version of the code on my desktop here.
And that you push to a branch that is not master. Quentin, no more pushing to.
I'm not pushing anything right now.
Okay, I'm just saying, you know what? We might lock the master branch.
You can do, you can do that in GitHub.
That
I don't know.
Be really helpful.
Yeah.
But I won't do it without discussion.
And you can also set, required reviewers for pushing to master.
Yeah. Sorry, Quentin. I know you've worked on a lot of projects like solo. So doing stuff with master is totally natural there. But I don't know, we'll talk about the ins and outs of it. It doesn't matter. It'll be a team decision. This isn't a black and white decision, so.
So I just get like a really basic understanding of the breakdown here, which Michelle probably already has, but for you, Molly. So there are basically two things, and I'm kind of curious about whether there should be three. And I'm not sure how to separate it better than we do right now. But this file here, the assembly line.yaml file, that's kind of the front end. And then the back end is this Python file. And there are some things that happen in either place without a really logical reason for that. That's kind of my first priority to clean up, I think.
So let me just clarify a little bit, because back end and front end can mean different things when people say them. I think what we're saying here is that first, the YAML file is the wizard that people see. This interview generator does a lot of the work, does some of that too, does some of the work of displaying the wizard. And it also does a lot of the work of generating the code that the wizard creates. So logic. So this is logic handling that generation.
Yeah, basically what we have is a compiler, right? So it takes the questions that we ask on the front end, the interview that people interact with, and then it turns it into code that can run an interview.
Right.
Could this also be?
Isn't in charge of when we say front end, it's not in charge of display logic, right?
This Python file doesn't do any display logic at all.
It does actually. I would argue with that. It does do some display logic.
But I mean, on the front end,
it decides what text is going to be shown to the wizard user a lot of times.
Right. I mean, yeah. So this is sort of like data manipulation, but in terms of the front end aesthetics, like the interface and what that looks like, that's completely handled by the assembly or wizard or whatever the framework.
By CSS. Well, Docassemble has a basic look, and actually some of that look is controlled in the YAML file, because there are settings you can make to questions above fields or beside them and that kind of thing. And
but it's not like we're writing a bunch of HTML, CSS, or any other front end framework to format that for a user interface. Okay, cool. Just making sure.
Yeah, just to get level of detail there. Yeah. So there's a bunch of text manipulation that happens in a lot of these standalone functions, but the main meat of what this does, it creates a YAML file, and that's supposed to be done through the DA question class and almost all through the source function here. Method.
I'm gonna hold on, bring up the code real quick, and so that I can.
Adam's take out. Adam's over there.
Little notes in my own branch.
Maybe part of this can be Quentin, you adding comments so that this knowledge can be preserved in a way that other people can look at it later. So maybe add a comment right above.
That's what I'm trying to do right here.
Oh, okay.
That's where I'm in.
Oh, okay.
As a comment. So let's see. I don't think that is really right. Okay. So this class represents a there's probably more we can say there, but
it compiles it, right? It doesn't just represent it. What it does is it generates that string.
Nope, that's not right. So the source function can actually output something.
I see. Oh, that's what I thought you were writing it for, because that's okay. Yeah. We were miscommunicating. Got it.
So one thing about
that is really useful.
One thing that this needs to be refactored is a bunch of things are shoved into this. So there's basically the meat of it is this one big if statement here with a bunch of branches. And some of these things are really questions in Docassemble's language, and some of them are not. So another big cleanup task that I have for myself is a lot of these, I commented that, I just didn't break anything, I'm gonna take that out. A lot of the different, oh no, I confused myself by I forget what I was starting to say, but some of them are questions, some of them are not. That was, I already said that. There's something else I was gonna follow up with.
And you had another task that was specific to yourself that you're trying to do?
I don't remember what I was gonna say about that, but it's okay. Just keep going.
You can watch the video later.
Do we separate, so you're interested in separating out maybe in the code, you're interested in separating out the stuff that has to do with the YAML data format and like.
So I think what he's talking about right now is, and I don't know if we have to go into detail, this much detail on everything, because that's going to take a really long time. So we might just let Quentin associate about his code and just do what he needs to do. But he wants to break out this one function into this one method into several methods. And I have an idea for a data structure that I think might be good for that, which is to name methods based on the type of block that it is. But we can discuss that.
So there is already, I think there's not something called a DA block, which is I think what should be the base class that question inherits from probably. But that's just not how it works right now. So I remember what it was. Another level of separation besides just distinguishing the different types of blocks from each other is there's a fair amount of code in here. So this should be pretty general, right? You represent a question, you spit it out into a YAML file. That should work for any purpose.
Yeah.
But a lot of code in here is very specific to our one assembly line process. So it'd be good to separate some of that out. I think the main offender is really just this ending. There's two places here. This interview order block, yeah. Okay, so this right here creates a block of code that controls the flow of an interview. And I'll show you that in VS Code, so it'll just be easier to see it on the big screen. So this here is linear. This is just listing the different screens that we're going to be showing the person, basically.
Yeah.
That's what triggers. Molly hasn't been introduced to Docassemble execution order yet, so.
Yeah, so this controls the order of screens that people will interact with, and really what it's doing is it's saying, I need this question to be filled in, and that triggers the screen. So and some of that code is generated right here in this section of interview generator, and it really shouldn't be here because this is all stuff should be in the YAML file, I think, or it could be a separate.
So maybe add that note so that we can think about it later. Like right above it, just add a note that.
Yeah, that's this here.
Is it possible to just write a note underneath the interview order to say that this dictates the the execution of the YAML code or something like. Oh,
yeah, that's what this is supposed to do, but maybe there's a better way to phrase it.
Flow.
Yeah.
So I just want to maybe propose something a little, I don't know how controversial this will be, but if we want to be able to get more developers on this faster, I suggest we put as much as we can in Python. It's annoying to reload that page, that Python page over and over again, but it is going to be easier for people to come on board to Python than to come on board to Docassemble.
Interesting point. Okay. So that makes me think we should probably, so this is our specific class. I still want to make it more abstract. Maybe we should go through an example. So for that specific area, there's some things that already are moved into the YAML file. Make a really good point about the fact that more people know Python than know Docassemble YAML. Okay. So we're already doing some work. This builds that list that gets turned into the order of all of the questions. We have to do something with that in the YAML file because that's what knows about what questions need to be asked.
Some of it is going to, not only is some of it going to have to be in the YAML file, but some of it is going to just make a lot more sense and be a lot less messy in the YAML file. So it's not a blanket statement. It's just part of the consideration to consider more carefully what goes where.
So here's basically what I'm thinking is usually I make my Python files are very general purpose, right? So they have more abstract code, and then your YAML file would be doing the specific implementation of what you're doing. But we could also have a design where we have the really general abstract code that could be used for different things that basically are related tasks. Like this is building a code block, basically, is what we're doing here, right? There might be more than one use case for building a code block that we want to have the same Python code do. So we could have a class in our Python file that inherits from this base one and says, okay, when we're calling this version of the block, it's always going to be doing this specific type of output.
So yeah, that's good to think about. I mean, maybe add a note about that too. Again, like capturing this for future generations.
Well, what I was going to do was move this stuff, most of it, that's specific here, into the YAML. But now I'm not sure that we should do that based on what you just said.
So maybe add that in wherever the notes say, like we might move this into YAML, add the, that there is another consideration there, just so that if like you are, lost along the way to whatever work you have or whatever, right? Then like people don't look at the notes and blindly implement them without understanding the questions discussed. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just wondering, should interview order be its own class potentially, just because it kind of deals with a different and maybe like inherit from question or something like that for the order?
Yeah, I think so. That was the first thing I think we were saying too, is that we want to move all this. There's no reason for this to be a giant if statement.
Yeah.
That's not a design that I would have chosen from scratch.
Got it. Yeah. So this is just a way of like, oh, we could just break this out,
Yeah.
With its own class. Okay.
But even then we might want to have it. So here, let me just walk through like the things it's doing that are specific to our project, which might be helpful too.
Yeah.
We're giving all of our code blocks a really specific, there's an intro screen that we're calling, which is generated in a different part of the code.
Okay, got it.
We're going to trigger it here. So that's one specific thing it does. That's not like a general purpose thing. Then we wanted to ask for all of the signature questions at the end. And we have this convention of how we named those, where they're all attributes of an object that's named .signature.
Got it. Okay.
And we're moving those to the end of the logic. And then we are
Okay.
doing a couple of other things like here, we're calling a function that makes the unfilled fields branches that we didn't discover because we didn't have to show that screen to the user. It didn't make sense from the legal logic point of view. We make sure that those get left empty on the PDF.
Okay.
So these are all things that are like so specific to our project that if someone else wanted to do something like with this code later, they'd have to remove.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if there's a way to do, like, in terms of like the approach, we'd have like maybe the generic interview order, and then we would have like customizations, and that could either be off of the interview order class, which would be just adding new methods for like, and maybe it would just be like custom underscore blank 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 method, or blank method underscore custom, you know. So that's one way if we wanted to keep it in like interview order. Another way could be do just its own interview order class, and then have another class that's like custom interview order executions or something like that, which then would just be separating it out into its own class. If I was another developer coming to the code and maybe wanted to use it, it seems like it would be more useful to have like the customizations in its own class, because then you just be like, okay, we don't need this class, right, in terms of separation of concerns. But it kind of depends on how interrelated all those customizations are to the rest of the execution flow, or like in terms of the interview, the generic interview order. Like there might be some customizations that have to be done before certain things in the generic order of operations. You know,
I think those are really good considerations.
yeah,
I think we shouldn't get too deep in the weeds.
Yeah, maybe too deep. Sorry.
That's okay.
No, I think that's a good point. So I mean, if we're just talking about which approach makes the most sense, I would say, let's do the subclass. I think for the reasons that you said. Yeah, I think that makes the most sense.
Awesome.
So this is basically what I have here, is that they're really. Yeah.
There's a number of other fields like DA field interview classes above.
Yeah, let's talk about those next.
I'm kind of curious what, like there's a bunch of them, so yeah.
Okay, so I don't think we're going to use these decorations. They're kind of useless. So I'm going to delete those two.
Well, no. Okay, don't delete code that isn't commented out right now. First of all, keep each PR to a purpose. We might want to talk about these, but for now,
we're not using any of the attachment that's commented out already in the DA question. So those classes are used for that. So.
Okay, so we could comment them out for now, I guess. And like maybe if we just comment them out and then write to be deleted sort of thing on a different PR or something like that.
If it didn't cause errors.
Sure, that's a good idea. Can't help.
Yeah.
Can't hurt you that. Okay, so the decoration is like a little picture on a question screen.
Yeah.
And the original version of this wizard that I am adapting the code from allowed you to upload a bunch of pictures that you wanted to use as decorations on different screens. And it had like a class for giving attributions to those. It's like a whole feature that I don't think makes any sense for us to use. It wouldn't be helpful for this project at all. It's about like questions and having a whole bunch of infrastructure for that we're not really using.
Yeah, I could see it maybe down the line being a feature we might want to implement, in which case we might look at the original source code again to see how they did it, but it might be something that would need to be customized somewhere else anyway. So like, that makes sense. So that's all is that just that one class that you commented out, or is that all the other ones as well?
So there's the DA decoration and the DA decoration dict.
Okay.
Those are related to each other. Okay, so an attachment is the actual the attachment is the actual PDF. It's where that part is handled.
So it's not the PDF that's coming in, I think. It's the PDF that we're going to output. So if you could put that as a note.
Yeah, like is that the output or input PDF? Yeah.
Ultimately, they're the same, but I do get your point, though. Yeah.
I'm reminding you, Google
fast forward through this part, whoever you are that's watching this in the future.
Okay.
No worries.
I'm actually not sure if it's the out. I think it is the out. I think you're right. It's not really outputting. It's okay.
We'll create whatever it is.
Attachment block is actually what we want to say.
Okay.
It shows things that people are saying.
So
There
here's
we
the
go.
design thing.
That's great.
Yeah. So
I like that. We might change that name eventually. Attachment blocks. Okay.
So I think that block is the general thing that we want to just describe all of these as.
Mhm.
I think it's not a DA attachment blocks. This is a list of DA attachments. The attachment themselves
Sure,
are blocks.
You're right. That's a good point.
Okay.
The upload class we can comment out as well. So uploads are a different kind of screen you can have in a Docassemble interview where you ask someone to upload a file. That's what this says here.
Future feature for when we're doing that.
Yeah.
Actually, for the courts, we might do that. Well, whatever.
I don't see that as
To
being
upload something so that they can.
my thing.
Okay.
I see that as a customization step.
Okay.
Because I want to get someone as quickly as possible through the wizard to have something people can customize because we know that's going to be where a lot of the meat happens. Maybe that's wrong.
This is an upload to the wizard.
Nope, it's an upload in the final interview where someone could upload like a copy of
Okay.
Like
Just
their
checking.
driver's
Okay.
license.
something to support, their driver's license.
Okay.
Something to support
Well, let's move on. I'm distracting us. Yeah. Yep.
That's just good to know.
So here, this is why it's confusing because blocks is a list, but there's no concept of a block anywhere else in a class name. So they already are thinking of blocks.
Okay, so that might be just a weird naming convention. So in this sense, block. You're going to comment anyway.
Yeah. Oh, so I'm going to just say here. So the DA interview, this represents the final YAML output.
It represents or it compiles, it creates. Like represents is a little vague. Like, does it create the strings for the final YAML output? Like, does it put together other strings? Does it combine strings? Does it create new strings?
None of those things. It represents it. It's an object that holds all of that information together.
Okay, so it's like the structure of the final document?
It's like an abstract container for it, really.
Yeah.
So here, when we get to the source function, that actually outputs.
Here we go, it is abstract. Here we go, it is abstract. It is Dracula, though they're gonna ask Amigo.
So are you hearing my son in the background? Should I move to
That's okay.
No, it's
Everybody's
adorable
working from
and
home.
not super distracting.
Everyone's working from home, but
I could move to a different room if it's helpful too. All right.
or you could put earbuds in and.
Not right now. That would be something you could do.
Turn on
Oh,
tap.
okay.
All right. So this method outputs to YAML.
Last call, it's
Can to a YAML a string. This method creates a YAML string.
Sure. That's a good point.
I know I'm a bit more literal, but I think reading back on it will.
Okay, got it. Yeah, because it's sort of like when you're like HTML, it's like requesting packages. It's in a string format that it can get sent back and forth or something.
So
like that.
For the class description, for now, I think both those things need to be said. This class creates an object representing the final YAML output and has a method for creating that string.
Sure.
And I would love the word object in there at the beginning
Rather than class.
rather than represents. This class creates, I mean, it's not just an it puts together from the other information, it creates an object, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's logic in here. It's not just you give it a bunch of, properties to construct and then it constructs them, but all right.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, all it's
Okay.
doing is really calling the functions on the different blocks it contains.
Okay.
But that's a different question, I guess.
Okay, that's fine. Sounds good. Cool.
Yeah, that's a silly thing to get hung up on, I guess. Like whether it creates it or represents it, it's a very abstract.
I find represents to be a much more abstract concept than creates in general. Like it can mean more things. And it's not about creates, it's about what it creates. Like, but it doesn't matter right now. Let's move on.
There's lots more that could be done here to document. So yeah, let's focus on other things. Okay, so a field represents a Docassemble field / variable. Variable and field are used interchangeably. I don't think we can get around that. A single piece of information. We are
a single question.
Can't use question either because question's not right.
A single actual literal question as opposed to screen. Jeez. Okay. A single input. A single input that we ask.
I think it'll be really slow if we wordsmith all of these as I go along.
Okay. Sure.
All right. So you can see this class doesn't really do very much in Docassemble objects. If they inherit from the DA object class, you can add attributes on the fly, and it kind of relies on that feature because that's how it can trigger a exception that collects that information from the user. Not every object-oriented system allows you to add attributes on the fly, so that's why I wanted to just point that out.
Mm-hmm. We might tell that. I'll try and note that for Molly when she gets back.
Oh, did she just leave the call? Sorry.
Yeah, she just lost power, I think.
Oh no.
So what was that? Object allows adding attributes arbitrarily. I mean, can't you do that with a regular object, or this means that it's tracked by the YAML file or something?
So it's not about the specific object. I was realizing, oh, this is a really bare class. It doesn't have any attributes named on it. And the reason why is because if we named them up front, it wouldn't work in Docassemble's system. But it's true for all of the classes that we have here. They're all pretty sparse because of how Docassemble works.
I mean, some of them aren't sparse. Some of them have a lot of methods. I mean, what is sparse about them?
Has no attributes, but of course it needs attributes.
Methods aren't considered attributes in Python?
I think of those as separate things.
Okay.
Yeah, an attribute is something that
I don't know the Python definition, so we can go with that.
A method is like a function. It takes some action.
In JavaScript, its methods are also properties of an object. We call them properties, and they're all properties. That's fine. So that's just a matter of language. As long as I know what you're talking about when you say attributes, it's good. Okay.
I don't know if I need to say it contains multiple DA fields. Well, actually, this is.
Hello again.
Really? Oh, hello.
My laptop apparently died.
That's better than losing power for your whole house, which is what I was.
Oh, yeah, sorry. No, sorry. That was poorly put. So it doesn't just contain multiple DA fields. What does it do? It also provides a way to print the variable name.
No, I mean, so I'm not sure what this two-string method here would really be used for.
Okay, so just add that comment because then we can re-examine it later.
Yeah.
Should do re-examine later or something. Yeah.
It doesn't do anything functional. So like this output, so what it's doing is just showing you a list of the variables and then a list of the elements inside. Yeah, it's just
Okay.
I mean, it wouldn't be a really useful thing. A comma separated list of all of the variables that are mentioned in the field.
I mean, would it be like for somebody who needed to like know what fields were in there? I mean, is that something that's useful?
Yeah, it might be just like for debugging purposes, but it's not a functional part. Like this doesn't get used in our YAML output at the end.
Right, got it, okay.
That's the main distinction. Okay, so here we have our DA question object. We already covered basically what that is. And then there's two classes that might be confusing. One's a list and one's a dict. I just think it makes more sense. Some things are indented to 4 and some to 2. Wait,
I have noticed that.
Verify that.
I'm excited that Python doesn't error on it. That's all.
Yeah, you just have to be consistent within each class.
Perfect.
Do you know the VS Code shortcut to fix the indentation?
I think if you just highlight it and then change the spacing over down in the bottom.
I think you should save what you have and then try it. Okay.
And then just hit save.
What you have to, I think what you'd have to do is change all the spacing to tabs, but I don't know if it would do it consistently. There are things that prettify code plugins, and if you have one of those, you might be able to use one of those with some settings.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Oh, that's a good thing to do. Maybe is have like a linter config for people.
Yeah, I don't know if there'll be one
I think it just
for
took a second, but it was
Docassemble.
working.
Okay.
No, I mean just for at least for the Python in the wizard, because that way you don't have like somebody uploading and they have 4 spaces and then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like weird things like that. Especially because Python is space particular, so.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I want to fix that. If all right, I won't worry about it now. It's okay. But I'm already.
But I understand the preoccupation though. Like I've definitely spent a long time trying to reformat my code before. So
that indentation does need to be fixed, I think.
Do we have?
Type equals.
Yeah, I don't know why that's indented, but nothing else is. That's weird. Okay. All right. So. I guess it's a little self-documenting, but still.
Yeah.
But this is, I want to clarify the purpose of this, which is obsoleted.
So, yeah. Okay.
All right, so the DA interview class expects to have a DA question dict. And that was handled a really different way in the original version of the wizard that I was adapting from. You never interacted, you didn't ever directly build anything into that structure. But I want to be able to have a structure that remembers the order of the questions. And then the other thing is, this is a dictionary, but the key was never used for anything. Or it's almost never used for anything.
So it would have been better maybe as either a list or a tuple or a...
Yeah, well, that's why I created the list.
Yeah.
And
maybe
this is still used.
In Python, is like a set and a tuple the same thing, or is that no? Tuples can have duplicate values.
Tuples can have duplicates. Yep.
Yeah.
So, okay, you finish with that, and then. But unordered. I think it's important to say we're going to remove it, because it's unordered. Right? To make that decision clear. Okay. So if I can pause really quickly.
You could probably just comment out that whole method then, right?
Well, I think
because it's still used in the base interview class.
Okay.
That's why I
I'm
hate
not sure what
deleting.
would break if we just changed it.
So
Okay,
one thing is, when you describe like this represents a list of DA questions, I can see there's a method in there. And, you know, it's useful if there is stuff that is happening in a class to say what is happening in there. So like
Yeah,
what
you're
else
right.
it
That should have
does.
been documented. Okay, so
Like, is that for debugging or is that for something else or what, you know?
I like the word wizarding.
Wizarding process.
Sounds like a Harry Potter reference here now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this method here, its only purpose is when we go through the interview, you know, each time you go to a new screen, you have fewer fields to assign. It takes off what's already been assigned. That's what this does here.
Oh, okay. I didn't even.
Yeah. The first version of the wizard did that a different way, but I found this was more reliable.
Can you say at the end so that they're not displayed to the wizard user? So that. Sure.
Okay, so if I can rephrase this just to make sure that I understand what you're talking about here, it's like, this is basically, so we have a list of like fields and questions that are on different screens, and this is making sure that fields and questions that haven't already been asked are not presented, that have already been asked are like filtered out.
Exactly.
So this is making, so you know how we went through with the diction, it's not quite it. So you know how we went through the wizard really quickly?
Mm-hmm.
And there was like a check mark that was like, use this field. And there was only one field, but there was a list there. So if there are 5 and I selected 2, on the next page, only 3 would be available, right? Because those 2 that I'd picked, they would not be available to choose to show on the next screen. Right, so I say I as a wizard user say I have 5 questions to show. I only want to show 2 of them on this screen, so I mark them off. On the next screen, the wizard asks me, "What questions do you want to show here?" It doesn't offer those 2 as a choice because
Okay, so it prevents you from, it prevents the formatter, not like the defendant filling out the form. It prevents the formatter
the
from,
wizard user.
Yeah, exactly. So from having multiples of the same questions. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all helping make this clear in the comments. Okay.
Yeah.
And I say question here, but I should really just stick with field.
Mm-hmm.
Because field is the distinction here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write like a just a really small transpiler for Docassemble that like just makes question blocks into screen blocks and fields into questions.
I think that if Jonathan redid it, he would probably use that structure. But originally, I think that his first version of Docassemble only let you.
No, I can see how it would have. Yeah, I can see how it would have grown from there. But like,
yeah,
the language is just really hard to work with. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so that's what that does. And this is much simpler. It's just a container for questions. But there are some things that rely on it being a dictionary. So that's why it's going to be a cleanup task to do it. But I'd rather just have everything use this DA question list
Okay.
class eventually.
So now I'm going to pause this again, and I'm very sorry. I'd like you to save this. I'd like you to try running this and see if there are any errors so far.
Sure. I think I was just doing searches. For some reason, searching,
yeah, searching tells you have stuff unsaved, which I'm like, oh, come on.
I was like, wait a second, did I save? But I know I shouldn't have changed anything there, so it doesn't matter if I did or not accidentally.
All right.
And what we did mostly, we just added comments. We comment out 2 sections of actual working code.
Yep.
Don't think do anything. So you're right. It's a good idea to test it. And By the way, I added some code here to help us catch. I think it's gone, that item potency problem we were working on yesterday. I put in some more helper code here. It'll show something on the screen if the field count doesn't match, because it should always.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
and
good.
This is just that little debug information.
Okay.
Too. That's still there.
Doesn't even check for a .com.
No, well, it's not valid. I mean,
That's okay. Yeah. So something or other is going wrong.
Name self is not defined.
GA question.
Name error, DA question, line 443.
Okay, yeah, thanks. 439 first, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, what happened there? Okay. That was where we were changing the indentation, right?
Self.object type equals DA question is unindented. So maybe
that was
it was
hidden,
outside
so I couldn't tell that it was. When I saved it, I was like, why is that indented all the way over there? It was supposed to be.
Got it.
So the collapser wasn't working properly. Okay.
I just
so save that and let's try again.
And it wasn't collapsed because it wasn't indented.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, I shouldn't have reformatted everything. I do want to go back and do that. There is a prettifier. There's some kind of thing that will let you do that.
Yeah. Definitely worked with Prettify before. I feel like one thing that might be helpful is to have linting or prettier or whatever you use on your code editor for formatting, and maybe have like because you usually have to do like a.
We'd have to put it in on the GitHub side.
Yeah, like you'd have like an RC file that, hey, this is the configs for your linter or prettier, and then
we can go into that later. Let's not teach that right
now. That sounds like a good idea. That actually.
But like but it would have to be on the GitHub side because we can ask Jonathan, but I don't think Docassemble has it. Maybe it has an linting, but
I'm just thinking in terms of the Python code we have for like.
That's on the playground. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, that makes sense.
So like I edited on the playground, for example.
You use the playground for your editor?
Yeah, most of the time. I mean, no, I use this thing that lets me edit the playground code in my Sublime text editor, but it is editing it on the playground. It like changes the text area on the playground.
Okay.
Okay.
So that I get both things. Did it? It might not have reloaded.
Might not have synced the right version. Yeah.
Well, no, it might not have reloaded because, like, for me, whenever I save a .py, it takes like 2 minutes or something to reintegrate with everything else. That like module change.
So you just have to refresh the screen. There are other people working on the server, so that is a very good possibility. It does like a graceful restart, so it doesn't cut people off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's just check those again because that's what we just touched and that looks right now. And then on line 443, those should have both been caught by our linter. So I'm just getting this one, which is because of a Python version. I have the wrong Python interpreter installed on this computer.
443 and 439.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
We fixed those for sure. And I'm 100% sure we just synced that version of the code up. So maybe it is what you're saying, where it's just not refreshed to the right code version.
Or it takes a while to load or to actually upload everything else.
It shouldn't really.
Something that's taking that long to reload looks to me like the problem I have when the new module version isn't synced up with the old one. It hasn't yet saved properly.
We probably should at some point beef up the specs of this, just because I think it is coming a little bit of a roadblock for how long it takes to load code. But I don't know if there's.
This is our dev server.
Our dev server, yeah.
Okay.
the production one has twice the specs, but twice as much RAM. CPU probably is not twice as much.
Okay.
But I'm always a little suspicious about what's slowing it down.
No attribute DA upload.
We commented that out.
Yeah. So maybe something needs that, requires that?
Oh,
Well,
well, I think it's just because we're exporting it here at the top.
Ah.
That's all. So in this all here,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm just going to comment that out.
what?
To make sure you're not exporting things you don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
So
you
maybe
can say exactly what you're going to be.
Are you exporting the decorators?
Yeah, that's another one we have to get rid of probably.
Yeah.
I say after we get this working without errors, we commit.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because we
Just in case we
place-
introduce any
place
new
to-
bugs later.
Yeah.
And the decorators are not being exported. So that's interesting. I don't know why that wasn't. Because I mean, it's really an internal thing. I don't know. The upload is interesting why that was exported. This error doesn't necessarily mean anything because Google Drive syncing sometimes takes a couple tries.
Okay.
So is this all like being done pro bono? Like this whole project?
Pretty much. So, I mean, it's pro bono in a sense for me and David because we're both being paid by the university for our work. But
Okay. Okay. I see what you're saying.
and then there's students who are getting credit for it. But we have a ton of volunteers who are just doing it pro bono. Like Maeve, you heard it, the project manager, isn't even from the United States, and she's doing pro bono work for us. So
Yeah, that's really impressive. I mean, yeah, like I don't know how. I mean, especially because you guys have got like 100 volunteers or something in a fairly short amount of time. That's like good.
yeah, that is definitely that's why we're trying to come up with these processes to make sure. Yeah, you can just throw a bunch of coders at it who just know this one task
Mm-hmm.
and get it done quickly. But we want to really harness all the energy that we have from our volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's no attribute DA upload because we commented that out, but what is referring to it?
Ha. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say.
You're just going to say we shouldn't have deleted it. We didn't delete it.
So maybe let's not, let's still export it. Let's undelete it so that we're not hunting that down right now because that's not what we want to concentrate on.
Yeah, I mean, we could write a.
Did you comment out, did you delete it from the things that are actually being exported or from the commented out list of things?
I used the wrong list. Isn't that what happened? It's possible.
No.
No, I did it in the right place, and it's not referenced
Okay.
anywhere else. I think we just synced up the wrong version. I'm going to try syncing one more time.
Okay.
Which, well, because of the way timestamps work, it might not actually do what I wanted it to do. I might have been better off by making a small change and saving it again. It's okay. I was going to check in with Matt, but maybe I'll just see if we can, do you all want to sign off at 11 or should we keep going a little bit longer? I think this is a pretty good introduction.
I'm fine to continue.
Okay.
I mean, this might be a good like bite-sized chunk for the video as far as that goes, and then come back at, because like I don't, like this part of is not very instructive. I mean, it depends how long this part is going to take, but like working out this bug isn't particularly, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I agree with you about that.
It depends. It depends how much. Yeah, that this is definitely.
I could do this cleanup
this,
at the end later, but
this is definitely the kind of error I get when the files haven't caught up to each other. The gateway error.
yeah, and we shouldn't be getting so many timeouts at all. Okay, so now it updated it on Google Drive. So that's exactly what I was afraid of. It overwrote our change with the version from. And I don't know if it's refreshed on my desktop yet. It's the wonders of syncing. Let's see.
Everything comes with a price.
Okay,
well, I'm using
that's
myself.
not a relevant error. Okay, but I don't see that inserted back in here anymore. But I have a feeling that's what happened. Let me just try reopening that file. No.
So I think it just hasn't caught up yet. So let's try it again because it's been a little while.
I've never seen what you're saying where it's there, but it isn't showing it. But okay, maybe that was it.
There we go. See?
All right. Maybe I just haven't been patient enough to try that.
Huh.
I don't think we could find that one. But that must be referenced in here.
Well, we know that this searcher isn't the best, but
True.
just look for decoration maybe. I don't know. So look for that in multiple places. There we go. So this is why I'm saying let's not comment out stuff yet, so that we don't go, because this isn't the valuable part of the debugging for us right now.
That's fair. So I'm just going to say that's a good point, but yeah, I don't think the decorations part's going to be that useful just because it's very formal and oriented.
Yeah, for sure. We can totally get rid of them. I'm just saying not right now. Right.
I hear you. Yeah, I think there might be a value in getting rid of code we're not actively using. So
I agree that there's a value in that, but in this particular case, we are like, that's not the focus of this particular call. I didn't think, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I misunderstood.
I thought the call was for me to do some of the cleanup that we're trying to do to make it easier for more people to contribute, and then also to have people listen in so that we could
that's a good point.
Have it combined with onboarding. But
yeah, this is a good shadow. I mean, like I'm also seeing some of the bugs that kind of come up in terms of syncing with Docassemble.
Assemble, yep.
A Docassemble. Yeah.
So here we might be running into what you just said, which is, okay, I think it's synced, and it is, but it hasn't updated.
Mm-hmm.
Got rid of all of the references to it. Except, oh wait, do we have it here? DA decoration, no.
You can just search on the page for DA decoration.
What does DA stand for? Defense attorney?
Delete that space, yeah. No, Docassemble. Docassemble decoration.
It's only one word.
Those errors don't usually show the stuff. I've never seen them show the stuff that's in the PI file, that's in the module file. They just show errors that are in the YAML file.
Sometimes it will, if you get like a trace back, you can get to the line in the Python code. Like we actually just had one a little earlier in the call. That was that. Okay. But it depends, but you're right. Often it won't show you the error. Okay, so I'm sure that we've commented out any reference to that now. And the references to self.decorations. Let's just check that. I'm sure all of them will go through this has decorations first. We're not using decoration list. Let's see. That's the only reference to it. So I think let's just try refreshing. Yeah, you know what? I have to be more patient than I have been. I always resync, which if I just waited a minute, I guess that would have made it faster. I actually don't do anything with that link yet. That's part of why I haven't put any validation on it. But I just feel like it's good to save that information that people already have fresh in their head. So this is that collection feature we were talking about where it will iteratively reduce how many questions it shows, fields it shows for us to assign.
Okay. Again, what did
content? This is the bug that you squashed a while ago.
What did it disappear? This fix? It did disappear.
It did disappeared.
This might be the bug that I was talking to Jonathan about so long ago. That like your changes get undone in some cases. But
you're not even syncing.
We just have to be careful that other changes didn't also get lost. Because content was done a while. I don't think that was so recent. I think you've done other changes since then. So we just have to make sure those changes did not get removed.
Well, that's there. So what we just did on this call, I think, is there.
No, what we just did on the call is there. It's just that in previous, like we might want to look at previous commits.
Yep. And then the item potency changes that I made were all in the YAML. Let's fill in field attributes. I didn't make this change yet, so
okay.
Let me just put a flag in there. I won't do it now.
So we're gonna handle var name and map names on a totally different level in the future anyway. I have a plan.
Okay.
So we're gonna like cut it off at the pass, do it once at the very beginning, and then never have to worry about it again. You'll see. I'll show you. I'll see.
Okay.
Yeah. The plan will have to be adjusted based on, you know, other stuff, but
is there documentation on like how like this process that you guys are going through in terms of like I'm used to just working in GitHub with the Git flow that way, not working this way with this interface. So I'm not 100% sure of like how this interface works. I don't know, maybe I missed something in the docs, or maybe it's just not documented. So that's really
so those would be the Docassemble docs, not our project docs, right?
Okay.
And there are documents there. I'm not sure. I have a little trouble like locating stuff in those documents. They're not built in the way that I'm used to seeing, like API documents and stuff. But like it does have a lot of content. So
okay.
Yeah.
and Jonathan's very active in the channel if like you have specific questions.
Okay. Cool.
I never actually sent my request to move our call to 11:30, so just doing that now. All right, I'm going to see if just refreshing is all we need to do, because it was definitely up there and it synced something.
Also, another question while this is loading. Wow, I shouldn't have taken a bite, but right before I just said that. So basically the question is, do we have a way of issue tracking, like in terms of like tickets? Do we have our own Trello board or what for devs or?
Oh, yeah, good question. So, okay, so I just had to reload, you're right. Let's see. So we are using Trello for features, and then we have used GitHub for tracking bugs. I think that's still a good division. Do you agree, Michelle? Because I don't think
Trello
we
for
want to put
features,
bugs
GitHub
on
for
Trello.
bugs. Yeah, I don't love having the two things in the separate places because I just don't like that. That messes with my mind, but I think it's working for other people, so that's fine.
Well, it's
Well,
just
it's
been
just
you and me so far who's doing anything in the assembly line code. So if we want a
Well,
different
but you know, there's been like
Kendall,
Kendall working in like the back end stuff. Like there are people working off of those cards. So, and I think keeping the picture in one place is useful.
yeah, I guess what I was just trying to figure out is like, so for example, if there is an issue like delete dead code, right? Or delete, you know, blah, 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 right? Is
That
that,
would probably be in the Trello.
that would be in the Trello. Okay.
I think as Quentin was saying,
Mhm.
the issues are for bugs and the Trello is for tasks.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure if like, or like with refactoring, that would be more of an issue as opposed to a bug. Okay. And then the other question is this Trello board, it didn't seem from the Trello, maybe there's only one Trello board as far as I can tell. And so how do people know whether like something's like a dev, is there like a category or something like that in the Trello board for like assembly like tickets, so for like the wizard like tickets as opposed to like other things in the project?
So it's a bit unclear. I think headings need to change, but in the to-do column, that's where like the tasks to do are.
Okay, got it.
The like currently prioritized tasks, though they aren't, like that's not made clear and their level of prioritization isn't made clear, but
Because yeah, it's just it's kind of unclear some of those tasks from at least what I looked at, you know, which is a quick glance between like, hey, is this a thing for somebody who's maybe automating or like who's working on the assembly or like working on the documentation part, the formatting part, as opposed to working on the wizard part.
Though we didn't have different lists for that yet. We just kind of had one list for all the back end things. But we
and is that just to do?
Things. I think logic things is a good way to put it. So it's a little, because back end is often things like database and server. So we're talking about logic.
Okay,
Right?
got it.
Dev tasks instead. And
Yeah.
I don't think they're all logic things either, but they're code related mostly.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a code related board. Okay. Maybe I was looking at a different Trello board then, because that had
this one.
I was looking at this one. Okay. Because I didn't see anything for like devs on here, and I was like, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So different boards. There's multiple boards. That answers my question.
Yeah.
And yeah, once you take a look at this, if you have different ideas for how we should organize the lists, feel free to suggest.
Okay.
So this is interesting. I don't know how this happened. Someone committed on these files aren't considered part of the package somehow. Do you?
Somebody doesn't have
I'm not sure how that happened. Oh, this is the wrong one I'm looking at. That's why I was like, wait a second. Never mind. I'm trying to figure out why I'm getting an error that says this file isn't there.
Are you doing this in a project?
What's that?
Are you doing this in a project, or are you doing this just in the?
It's in my playground. I'm just looking at because I have the package installed there.
I'll ask you later. Never mind. That's all right. Molly, remind me to talk to you about making it in a project instead of just in the root folder.
assembly one here. Yeah. It's not. It's called. It is called a project. Yeah, I just forget because it's a new thing.
Okay.
So it seems like
I just want to
one thing,
run this, and I'm getting this error, which is weird.
yeah. So it seems like one thing that I should do is kind of go through maybe the Docassemble documentation for devs, just because there's because I feel like maybe what I looked at is I go like, oh, okay, so this is the YAML survey code part, you know, which is not the wizard. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. But it looks like there's some interfacing with our wizard database or wizard code to the form here in terms of running things. So
well, this is just, it's not our wizard. This is not specific to us. This is interacting with Docassemble, the Docassemble platform.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Is like the code that we're writing, that we were reviewing and just now in Python, has to interface with this, so that's something I should know how that interfaces.
That you have to interface with it is more.
Yeah, that I have to, do that.
Yeah, it definitely can't hurt to get familiar with Docassemble. Okay, so I'm just checking this runs through. I don't know
go too deep.
That include is on there, but I'm just going to skip that actually. So you should just be able to run it once you download it. That's what I just wanted to just confirm. And there's something that's wrong, but I think it's because we don't have something installed correctly. Is the name of the package wrong? Don't think it is. I will track that down later. That's not relevant to what we're doing. But the goal is you can download it and it will run and it will be a rough draft. So we want to be able to let someone take that and start customizing things. When I was talking with Matt, that's what he sees as like the area where we're lacking capacity the most. So like becoming familiar with Docassemble, as you said, would be helpful.
Yeah.
If you feel like you could learn enough to become comfortable customizing a draft interview. But that's a whole different thing than generalized coding. Like you learn a lot of things that are just like, okay, this is the way Docassemble does things. So you can, I guess, just see what makes sense to you in the next couple of days.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so we have another. I'm going to meet with Matt at 11:30.
Okay.
In this, what do you think would be a good? So I didn't do very much cleanup except popping out a few things and adding comments. That are helpful.
The comments are super helpful, though.
Yeah, the comments are very
definitely
helpful.
feels valuable.
I think
should we keep going progressively down the.
I would suggest committing. I know that takes time out. I realize that, but I do think that it is.
Sure, no, that's a good point. Let's save our progress that way as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'd suggest on a different branch, but you can.
I will. That's fine.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'll want to pull down those comments, so I want to have access to that regardless.
You can have access to that branch. Don't worry.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to call this branch refactoring, or that's fine. You might want more than one refactoring branch at one point, I guess.
Yeah, well, we'll delete the old branch and we'll make a new branch is how, and right. We can have people's names on it if there are multiple people working on it. People's account names.
And so in terms of like using a repo from like GitHub, if I do changes or something, is it possible for me from my like terminal to just open up a new branch and push that to GitHub? Will that sync with other things, or is it that I have to use this?
Yeah, I can show you how to do that. That's more of a technical thing, and I can show you how to sync up with
Okay, cool.
Quick answer is yes. You can use that process you're comfortable with, and we'll be able to.
Okay, cool.
All right, so this playground section and this playground class do something that I would like to do,
Mhm.
which is they can write directly into Docassemble. So instead of having that workflow of me downloading the file and then uploading it, I can have it saved directly into a place where I can run it immediately after
The
I
YAML
saved
file
the YAML
that
file.
is generated.
So
Okay.
I don't use these yet.
So can you comment them though that that's what they do, and they will be in the future.
Mhm.
That's why I haven't taken out this code that's not used, but it's a big chunk of code, obviously.
Yeah. It's a very long, yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, it's doing a lot, so ideally in the future, saving a lot of time too, and frustration.
And this is probably a candidate for moving it out and like separating its concerns from the rest of what happens in here.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
There are definitely possibly ways that the interview object class already interacts with this that it may be, but I don't want to just move it. Well, it could be a separate.
No. I don't want to move it right now. I would prefer to not move it right now, actually. I just, when we're talking about future code structure, I try not to mention that because I don't want to distract us, and then sometimes it slips out. I apologize.
Okay, so I actually haven't looked closely to see what the difference is between these two different classes. They do different things, I think, but basically the only reason why I'm keeping them in is for that one purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, now there are a bunch of little helper functions here, which just do string manipulation. And things like making file names that are valid. This indent by just adds proper YAML indentation. I can add that comment now.
Well, it's not the proper YAML indentation, it's the YAML indentation that you request. The requested amount of YAML indentation, but that's okay. That's just, that's fine. Sure. I actually think that might be wrong too, because it might not remove it. Anyway, that's fine. We can figure it out later.
So num is like the level of indentation and text is.
It's the level of indentation to add.
Yeah.
I never actually learned pi doc string format correctly, but yeah, there's a way for us to say what the different parameters mean, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Probably. I don't know. That's what it is in Java doc.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's
Java string. Yeah, it's at params, at returns. If it works the same as an at params, you have at param, I think, for each parameter.
Yeah, Jonathan doesn't ever use.
And text would be, I think, in brackets, but I'm wrong. I might be wrong.
Round brackets like this?
No, curly braces.
And then a colon?
I don't know. I don't remember a colon being involved, but that's okay. We'll get close,
yeah,
and then
we'll get to that, I think.
We'll start with this. You're right. It doesn't matter if it's the right exact syntax, because it's still helpful because you can see it right what it means. The number of spaces to indent by.
to add to the indentation.
I actually don't know. I haven't looked at this closely enough to see if it's adding or just or replacing as well. Or have you checked that? Can you read that regex to know that's what it's doing?
Let me see.
The intent is to be the level of indentation.
Replace or that by blah blah. Yeah, it adds indentation. It adds indentation.
Be wrong. Okay.
So.
Now that reads weird, but that's okay. Still, it's more helpful than not having any indentation there. So, okay, returns a valid Python variable name from the input string.
I think it adds it.
I think this returns a valid, even though it says to YAML file, looking at it, all that it seems to be doing is giving a valid YAML file name.
Mhm.
I don't know why it needs to be YAML in the name at all, but
Yeah, well, we'll
guess it
change
adds
that.
.yaml.
We'll change it when we refactor.
it adds .yaml to it, that's why.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you just add an ending suffix that someone puts in, and
Yeah. And it
But you
does
get rid of
this
spaces and
there
you
makes
know.
everything lowercase, it looks like.
Mhm.
So it does it's a couple things besides.
Sounds
Okay.
like regex would be a good thing to know here.
Yeah, but not for
Not like
everything.
super.
For
Yeah.
this section, yes, but
Yes.
and
I
it is
just thought, yeah.
useful. It is useful.
This is the
and
string
we can
manipulation
talk
section.
over it.
And Michelle's taken really good control over this part also.
Obviously, this, not to start another rabbit hole, but it would probably be a good idea to have these utility functions in their own file.
Yeah, we'll talk about what to separate out and how to make those decisions, because I have some I think ways I want to have that discussion.
Which is why I said it's a rabbit hole that we should definitely not go down.
Yeah, you're totally right. You're totally right.
So at least as of today, that's not something we use. So the package is a Docassemble concept, which may be the same as a Python package. I don't know that much about Python packages.
Okay.
I have no idea what this does.
Repr string, move, repr text.
Oh, okay.
That just is sub.
Just remove you, I'm assuming is UTF.
Yeah, remove some kind of, remove some strings from the text. Remove the specified string, it's like remove some like invalid characters from the string passed in, basically.
Right.
I don't remember what remove you is. That was before my time.
That's what I'm looking at right here. So
oh, I see.
upper caret U, I don't know what that means, but I'm guessing
that is
that it means,
start of the string and the letter U.
It literally removes the letter
U from the start of the string.
Okay.
Just put that in there. We'll figure out what we need to do with it later.
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, this removes the letter U
from the start of the string. Start of the text passed in or whatever. Yeah.
Possibly related to UTF, I'm guessing.
Maybe.
And I'm thinking it's a Py2 thing that doesn't apply to Python 3 anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, that could potentially be that. I haven't really used Python 2, so.
Perfect.
Luckily, we don't need to anymore.
Yep.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
Which I haven't, there's some Python 3 things I haven't used, like format strings, that I'm getting a linter error here because I have to change. Anyway, that's a different question. I have to install Python 3 on this computer that I'm using. We're not using this because we're not doing docx templates through the wizard right now. But
let's not comment it out for now. Or
I'm not saying we're going to comment it out. I'm just saying I want to add a comment to it.
So maybe unused or something, currently unused or something like that.
Unused as of 04, whatever you said before.
And I don't know if, our workflow is built around PDFs because we were thinking it's a step of the process you can hand off to someone more easily than writing Jinja. Oh, sorry. I'll put the date in there again. Yeah. This is
And so the directory _4 isn't being used either, I guess.
Yeah, it's not
It's
being
used by the playground class.
Yep. It's part of that whole process of like letting us save stuff onto the server directly, which I think we used
okay.
at some point, but not yet.
Got it.
Playground class is that.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that reminds me. Okay.
And you have 4 minutes.
I know. Okay. So the rest of this code,
I will comment that. I will comment
Michelle
that
can-
more fully. Yeah, because this is
there are a
the, I
bunch of
think, the
global
lion's share of this.
variables too, which we should think about where those are. But right now it's set up so I think so it's easy for you to separate it out and test stuff, right? That was the reason for having it in its own section.
Yeah.
Yeah, we already import RE
Regex.
at the top, but that way you can just test the whole file.
And I can get rid of the, and I can also show you a REPL that's really useful for, just testing stuff out in Python 3. 0.6 and above or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's something to keep in mind. We're at Python 3.6. We can't use 3.8 stuff, which doesn't usually matter. I haven't run into many things that are like that. It shouldn't matter for this code base, really.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe I should say that in there, just because this is a file people are working on independently.
All right.
And I don't need that.
Cool. So let's go ahead and run this. I know we didn't do anything.
But you never know. Before we didn't think we did anything, and we did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
I'm just gonna wait till that's refreshed. I give it a second usually. This is my workflow as I'm using Google Drive Sync. And after it finishes syncing, it takes a minute or two, or at least a few seconds to actually.
I think that's probably also what saved you from having to deal with the whole, Py files updating, is that you're waiting for it to sync anyway. It's like OneDrive and maybe the other process is happening while you're waiting for it to sync. I don't know. I mean, theoretically, it should happen after it syncs, but there may be a period of time where it is synced and you're just not seeing it. So
that's very possible.
Or that loading process may be part of that time. Like the module refreshing process may be part of that sync time. Anyway.
Yeah, like another super future thing is, why are we handwriting our YAML? I don't know. I'm guessing there was a reason for it. It could be that when Jonathan wrote that code, that was just the way he knew how to do it, because it's one of the really early things that were added to Docassemble.
What do you mean by handwriting?
So, I mean, we should be able to pass a dictionary of lists and whatever other nested data structures to a built-in Python module that can handle outputting YAML.
Yeah.
But instead, we are doing it by manipulating strings and doing the indentation space by space.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know if we need to.
It is 11:30.
Yep. 11:29, that's what I have.
Oh yeah, my
Let's just make sure it works, and then I'll commit the changes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out when I can upgrade the specs. It has like an hour of downtime when we upgrade the server. Oh, Matt is also, you were asking about who, if it's all pro bono. Matt is, I just left Greater Boston Legal Services like a month ago. And Matt worked with me there, and he's gotten the go-ahead to do this project on his time for GDLS as well.
Oh, really? I didn't even know. Huh. Awesome. Cool.
Oh, you thought he was just doing it extra?
I was like, what is Matt doing that he's got this time to spend doing this? But I'm not gonna, you know, look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm just gonna take that.
Yeah.
Very helpful. That very helpful. Like, you know, I'm not losing Matt just for a silly question.
We might be able to figure out why those gateway timeouts are happening and adjust a setting
That
so
would
it
be
gives us more
freaking
time.
awesome. That would be amazing.
That might be faster than upgrading the server, which I said takes about an hour usually, just because of how we're on Amazon Light Sale, and that's about how long it takes to expand. You do a snapshot, and then you have to load from the snapshot. Okay, so that worked.
Fun.
Okay, I will sign off.
Awesome.
Okay.
I'll upload this to YouTube.
All right.
Thanks so much.
All right, thanks for coming on board. Looking forward to working.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.